You're listening to the REITE Club podcast, where the focus is all about helping you grow your real estate investment portfolio and live the life you want to live. Come grow with us and join our community at thereiteclub.com. And now your hosts, Sarah Larby and Alfonso Salemi.
Okay, and that makes sense. And yeah, you can play with numbers, and I totally get it that it depends on basically the risk is the perceived risk. It's the perceived risk, not necessarily the actual risk, but the perceived risk, right? Because it's always the risk in the eyes of the lender.
Yes. He who has the gold makes the rules, and it's the same in the private space. You know, I've seen people go, well, that's ridiculous that they're going to charge me that. It's like, well, they're the ones that have offered to lend you this money. If you can get it cheaper, great, but this is all, you know, so I mean, my role in all of this, and I say this to people all the time, I'm a matchmaker. My goal is, let's say, Laura, if you're the one calling me needing the mortgage, I need to get all the information from you as much as possible. Tell me every detail that you can so that I can now go to bat for you and find you the best lender, because I need to know things like, for instance, if you, let's say you're doing a mortgage that you've bought a property under market value. Now you're going to put renovations into it. Well, ideally, you might be looking for a mortgage with low return, like monthly payments. So we might be able to structure it differently so that the payments are at the end or partially at the end, whatever. I'm trying to look at your needs, and then I'm getting a hold of Alfonso, if he's the lender, running the whole scenario past him and trying to make it that, yes, he gets what he wants, which is a great return, not gouging, but a great return. And Laura gets what she needs for her project.
I love that. I love how you coined it as a matchmaker, right? Because they're out there. A lot of our REITE Club is active. They're looking for that private money or looking for money to fund their deals, whether it's A, B, or in the private world. But then on the flip side, we have a lot of members of our community that maybe just want to lend out their money. So you're you're working with both sides. So when you're interviewing both, you're understanding the needs of both. But let's take a look at it when you're either borrowing or lending the private money. What are, like, I don't know, on either side, the top few things that you should really consider before you lend or before you borrow? What are the things that you like? If you don't do this, you shouldn't even step into this world.
Okay. Well, first off, from the point of view of the person who's borrowing money, you need to know your numbers. There's no doubt about it. And one of the things I say, as people are introducing themselves to me, I honestly suggest get a hold of me before you've got the property under contract. And the reason is we can brainstorm together. I mean, I've done this for a long time. I'm also on the other side of the coin where I use private money as well. So I feel I bring that also to the table, that, you know, so we can brainstorm on it. And honest to goodness, there's been many situations that once somebody outlines all their stuff, and then I'm able to kind of throw at them, well, you think about this cost and you need to think about this. By the time they're done, sometimes it's not the best situation. And I'd rather them know that before they bought it than after they've already got it under contract. So some of the costs they have to think about. Every 9 out of 10 of these deals are going to need an appraisal. That's the cost of the borrower. Okay. Just put in perspective, a single family home would be anywhere between $400 and $500. So a fourplex is obviously going to be more than that. Okay. So you're keeping those in mind. You're going to have to pay not just the interest rate on the money, but sometimes a lender fee. So it might be 8% lender interest rate on a first mortgage, but then there might be 1 or 2% lender fee that has to come out at the top. You also have to pay for the lawyer for the lender. Again, I'll use you guys as the two of you as an example. Alfonso, your lawyer, Laura would have to pay for your lawyer. So I say budget between $1,500 to $2,000 for that. You also have your regular closing costs, and people have to know land transfer tax is not cheap. So that number has to be in there, plus your own lawyer's costs. And then there's the broker fee. We don't work for free. And that comes out of from the borrower. In my case, I usually charge 1%. The minimum it would ever be is $2,800. And that number can be all over the map depending on who you deal with. So sorry, I'm kind of losing track here. So your question, so now if you're the lender, things you want to think about, you need to get, this where we can help, that you need to be thinking about, you're not a bank, you're lending on the equity of the property. Okay. There is a big difference. I have some lenders who want this person to qualify like they were going to CIBC. It's like, no, sorry guys, they're using private money for a reason. Either their credit might be in the toilet right now for a good reason. So I have to explain that. They might be over leveraged. They might, like so many things behind it, but it's like they are lending on the value of the property. So we usually like to keep it at 20% down payment or more. Okay, so if it's a first mortgage and it's a purchase, and you're just going to rent it out, you're not doing any renovations, you probably need to have 20% down. If you're going to buy this property and it needs lots of work before you can start renting it out, chances are it might be 70 to 75% loan to value. Okay. Now people have asked me why. What's the big deal? Because my after repair value is going to be such and such. And what I need to show them is that, yes, that's over there. But during the time that the property is getting renovated, that lender has to be protected during that entire process. So while you've gutted the house to renovate it, now they're vulnerable if anything happened to you. What else? I mean, there's
No, that's a lot of good info in terms of both sides of things. So, Laurel, it looks like you had a question for Susan.
Well, no, it's just you're right. And I really like what you said about first of all, the lender has to realize that the borrower, they cannot treat the borrower as if the lender was a bank. I really like that because it's true. Like if you're going after private money, it means for whatever reason, you're like you said, you're over leveraged. You've already got, I don't know, 20 properties, and the bank just goes,
yeah,
ha, 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 like there's the door,
yeah.
really. And yet on paper, and especially, and also there's the whole trust factor, right, of the character of that person, because that's worth
Yes.
a lot. You can have two people that have exactly the same portfolio, they the same money put in, and yet two different characters, and you can look at one and say, absolutely, I would lend money to this person. And you look at person B and you go, not in a million years. I don't care.
And that's an excellent point. And so another thing I suggest to investors that I've learned how to use private money, and once you get onto it, you go, wow, there's no limit to what I can do. Right? You just have to make sure your numbers work. And so those people, there are ones that all day long, these investors keep coming back to me. I can vouch for them now. And I also ask investors, put together a portfolio. Put together, you're selling yourself to say, this is what I've done. This is what I'm doing. This is, you're putting together a real estate resume. That's what it boils down to. And trust me, that goes so far. It really does. It's extremely helpful. And that's why I like the repeat business of different investors, because as soon as they call me or the email, it's like, okay, I know I can get you the mortgage because I've worked with you in the past. I know your integrity. I know your character. You do what you say you're going to do, which is pay back your loan, not missing payments. So things like that.
Yeah.
It's about communication, number one. Absolutely right. It's about relationships, because again, it is not all about numbers. At the end of the day, yes, we all want to make money, and whatever side of whatever side of the deal you're on, you want to make money. However, the other side of that is about the relationships. That is really, really important, because if I, as a borrower, get to know you, Susan, as the broker, really, really well, and we have a really good relationship, and you know me, you trust me, you go, oh God, Laurel's calling. I know it's a good deal. I'm there. And at the same time, when you pass me on to or you connect me with, you being a matchmaker, you connect me with Alfonso, who's the lender, and I get to know Alfonso, and he says, oh, I love Laurel, and I know you do, Alfonso. I know you love me, but aside from that, it's like it is about that relationship, right? And it grows, and everybody wins in that situation.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to the REITE Club podcast and joining our community of real estate investors online at thereiteclub.com, where the focus is about helping you grow. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks from your hosts, Sarah Larby and Alfonso Salemi.